So coming back to local politics, but also talking about national things a little bit, we've got Governor Little sends Idaho State Police to support Texas border efforts. This comes by several sources. Governor Brad Little has announced a significant move in response to the ongoing border security debate. Idaho is sending more state police troopers to the U.S.-Mexico border to assist with security efforts. This decision aligns with actions taken by Texas, where law enforcement has placed razor wire along the southern border. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled recently that federal agents have the authority to remove the wire, and Texas authorities are holding their ground, with Governor Greg Abbott and a coalition of Republican governors, including Little, expressing their solidarity. Governor Little has proclaimed January as Idaho stands with Texas in securing the nation's border month, emphasizing Idaho's commitment to border security. That name just rolls off the tongue. This isn't the first time Idaho has been involved. In July 2021, Little sent 5 troopers to the border, and again in May 2023, he deployed 2 teams of troopers who returned with new insights on policing human trafficking. The governor's office has highlighted the importance of this mission, stating that troopers will not only assist with controlling the border, but also learn tactics to combat human trafficking. Little has criticized the Biden administration for its failure to acknowledge the severity of the border situation, linking it to the exploitation of vulnerable individuals, including children. This move has sparked a mix of support and concern among Idahoans, with some praising the governor's proactive stance and others questioning the implications for state resources and priorities. As the debate continues, one thing is clear. Idaho is taking a firm position in the national controversy on border security and immigration. Which, if you're a listener of Tim Pool at all, I only have one thing to say. Civil war.
I know that has been the topic that has been swirling in the air. I've heard it because we're recording this Friday, so that gives you some context, because as we're recording this, I am 100% confident details will change, the situation will change, and so me and John are going to try to, as best we can, limit, I guess, a little bit of our discussion, because obviously what we say is probably going to go out of date fairly quickly. And also, we want to move through this fast because of time things, and obviously this episode is a little bit more heavy than the other ones. But from what I understand, and you can correct me what you've heard here, John, the Supreme Court, in the ruling that they've done that's kind of changed the dynamics and put it in this situation, said that the feds could remove the wire. But the statements I've also heard is that they said they could remove the wire, but that doesn't mean... They didn't say anything about Texas also being willing to put it back up, that they can keep putting it back up as it's being cut down. That's what I've heard.
So federal agents can remove the razor wire. They're allowed to. But that doesn't mean that Texas must allow the feds to have access to the razor wire, nor does it mean that Texas has to take it down, nor does it mean that Texas can't put up more razor wire. So, it's just... It's absolutely ridiculous.
See, what we're going to have is a razor wire war. Part of me really kind of wants that to be in the history books when I get older. And be like, what was this, Dad? That was the razor wire war. Texas was trying to put it up faster than the feds could take it down.
It's all ridiculous. It's hilarious. I love it. I love it. I love the fact that Abbott is, I don't know if it's calling the bluff, if that's the right terminology. But
he's just sticking to his guns.
Right. I love it. I'm so happy that this is the thing that is happening right now.
Right. Which, speaking of sticking to your guns, I'm glad that Little has also stood up, because Little is little. I'll leave it at that. And sometimes he takes his finger and sticks it in the air, sees which way the wind's blowing. And that can vary, we'll put it that way. But I'm very thankful in this specific situation he's taken such a strong stance on it, and is also one of the states that is sending troopers or help, I guess, down there to the situation. I could see a more moderate person saying, well, then you're just putting fuel on the fire. I guess there's a case to be made there, but I would counter and say with matters like this, it's usually about numbers and saying how much support there is. So when, you're calling someone's bluff, you really want to have a strong hand usually, right? So the stronger you can make that hand, the more likely the person isn't going to call your bluff. So I'm glad that Little has done that. As for, what's going to come out of this, I'm not going to go too far down the speculation lane, but wars and civil wars have been started for far less than I will be willing to be quoted on.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at the states that are offering their support and which ones are not. At least right now on Friday. So I jumped over to Twitter because there are a lot of those maps that are flying around. But, you have all of the southern states except North Carolina, apparently. And then you have all of the Midwestern states except for Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Kentucky, and Illinois. And then Nebraska and Colorado. Colorado clearly is not supporting this. The one that's shocking is New Mexico and Arizona have not offered their support to Texas on immigrants because those states are both wacko. But then in the Northeast, you have New Hampshire and Vermont that are both on board with Texas.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens over the next week because this is crazy. Like, we knew 2024 was going to be a crazy year. This wasn't necessarily on my bingo card, but I mean, it's not as far off as other things that have happened already could be.
I think I heard someone give a statement, and don't ask me who it was. It was some prominent figure. It's an election year between an incumbent president and a president that we'll just say has been less than unifying. And that means that the craziness that happened in 2022 is only going to go. They use different language, but we'll just say crazy for 2024.
Something's going to hit the fan, I think is the expression that gets used.
One of them, yes. But it's a family-friendly show,
That's
so
one
we
thing.
try to... Yeah. But any case, we didn't want to focus on this too much and give you guys, in a sense, too deep of a dive because obviously things are going to change. There's going to be more details. Me and John might give an analysis on this or something, and then new detail comes up that completely ruins the case or argument that we're making. But that said, we'll keep things rolling and move on to the next story.